then a tiny bit is still on, then another. Because I want to draw your attention to the transients. So for 900 milliseconds, and then wait 6 seconds. The maximum arcing time function, the cold plasma, because we've got this prototype. Even if there's an arc, it's not detecting it properly. So in this video, we're going to actually talk about the difference between the start counter and the hold counter. The reason is because these two concepts, although quite simple, can be quite confusing at a certain time. So we made this video in order to make that difference extremely clear. So we're going to focus on this video on the difference between these two modes of operation, these two modes of counting time when we're generating the arc for aesthetic purposes. And also we're going to take advantage of this video in order to show you again the transition period of the arc, when the arc switches on and switches off, just as a recap of that. And also we're going to show you an example of the start counter and the hold counter using cold plasma. So this video also is going to be quite useful just to make that concept of the difference between the cold plasma and the ordinary plasma a bit clearer to you as well. So pay special attention, and we think this video is quite important for you to absorb. So let's give it a start now. So again, the main purpose of this video is to make that difference between the hold counter and the start counter very, 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 very clear. Now, why did we call it the start counter first of all? We could have called it the maximum arcing time function, and we can actually change the software if we wish. But we still call it the start counter because the main concept of operation is to actually start counting time and switching off the device after a certain time period, whatever switching off the tip of the device as a certain time period that you, the operator, are setting the device to. So that's very important, and it does not matter what happens within that time period. Say for example, for talk's sake, you set the start counter at 900 milliseconds. So what the device does is waiting for an arc to appear, and then when the device detects an arc, it will start counting immediately, and it will stop exactly 900 milliseconds after. It will switch off the tip of the device 900 milliseconds after it detected the first arc, the first voltaic arc. That's very important, and it does not matter whether during those 900 milliseconds there's been 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 arcs or whatever. It only looks at the first arc. It may be 1 millisecond, 2 milliseconds. The device does not really care. All it cares about is, have I seen an arc? Now I'm starting to count, and then I will stop counting exactly after those 900 milliseconds. That's very important. So it does not care about anything else, and this is the very reason why we called it the start counter. We could have called it, to make it more user-friendly, the maximum arcing time, because the main purpose of the start counter is for you to be able to set the maximum arcing time that you want. So that is the main purpose of this function. So now let's go and to analyze it, to actually read the text, because it's quite good. So the start counter sets the maximum arcing time. So whenever you say to the start counter, well, I want 600 milliseconds, you know that at most you're gonna get 600 milliseconds of arcing time. You can get less, but not more than 600 milliseconds. Very important that, because the start counter starts counting time when an arc is detected, and it stops at the required time you set. For example, 600 milliseconds, 900 milliseconds, whatever you tell it to do. whatever you tell it to count to. And it does not matter whatever happens after it started counting that time, after the first arc has been detected. It does not really care. It does not care whether the arc has been on, off, whatever. It just looks at the arc, does the arc, and it starts counting, and then after that time, it switches off the tip of the device. Very, very simple. So this function is designed so that you know the maximum duration of the arc. Very important that. Now, let's go into the whole counter. We called it whole counter so that we can count digitally the whole duration of the arc. Now, the main problem lies on the fact that the human eye and the hands are not precise tools when it comes to handle these arcing devices. And as we know, the arcing time, the total duration of the arc, is very important in determining the amount of energy that you put into that particular point on skin. Therefore, we made this function in order to allow you to have a digital counting control of the whole duration of the arc. Very important that. So with this function, you're able to say, well, I want a whole duration, for example, of 900 milliseconds. So the device job is to make sure that it counts the duration of each individual arc that you're placing, and the total duration is whatever you tell it to be. That's very important, very, very important. So, and this is why we call it the whole counter. So you've got that peace of mind. So you know the duration of the arc. And why is that important? Because the duration of the arc determines the amount of energy, and is also a very important factor into determining the intensity of the treatment in aesthetic treatments for eyelid tightening, whatever you want to actually do. Very important that. That is very important. So the whole counter sets the whole time of the arc, the whole duration of the arc. That is why we've got this function. So the whole counter starts counting when an arc is detected, like the start counter, and it stops counting when the arc stops. It only counts while the arc is on, and it will stop when it reaches the total duration that you tell it to last. Say, for example, if you've got, in the example that we're going to show you, 900 milliseconds, it will count a total duration of 900 milliseconds up until that 900 milliseconds of arcing time is not achieved. It will keep that tip of the device on, and it will switch it off when the total duration is reached. Very important that. So now we're going to go back and show you a very, very interesting pictures that I made here. I do apologize for the way I draw, but here in this pictures, quite important. Haven't actually drawn them in using square waves because I want to draw your attention to the transients of voltaic arcs, because when an arc is born, it's not as if it goes immediately to its end value, to its end strength of arcing. It actually requires a bit of time in an exponential growth fashion, exponential growth, in order to achieve the final value. And in here, when I drew it for the star counter example, I just exaggerated it so that if you want to know more about, that's just a recap about the transition period of arcing, because this is the only device so far that's got this digital control. There's no other device that allows you to work within the transient periods, and we've got videos on that, so and information on that on our websites. Just so revise it. We've got also online tests, take them, and so that this concept is quite clear. So I'm actually making these pictures a bit this way so that you've got in your mind that there's transition period when we're switching on the arc. But for the sake of the start counter and the whole counter, we're gonna make an example of saying, look, dear star counter, count up to 900 milliseconds. Now, what the star counter does, says, say for example this point, okay, here I detect an arc. So I start counting here. Now, what happens after, whether this arc is 350, 400, 200, 100, it does not matter. So all it does is, it detected the arc in here and actually doesn't detect it immediately because it takes a tiny bit of time for the device to detect it. And then when it starts detecting it, starts counting. And over this whole duration of 900 milliseconds after the device has detected the first arc, it will switch off the tip of the device. Very simple. So 900 milliseconds is on, then is off. And it does not matter whether it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 300 arcs during that time. It does not really matter. All it knows is, did I detect an arc? Yes. Then I start counting and I don't care about what happens after. So in this way, you know that the maximum duration of the arc is 900 milliseconds, for example. And then the device is switched off. The tip of the device is switched off. And then, say for example, we've got the whole counter and we're going to set at the same time as the start counter here, 900 milliseconds. What happens is, like in the same fashion as the start counter, the device says, okay, I've got to count up to 900 milliseconds, but only when the arc is on. So it waits for an arc. As soon as it detects an arc, it starts counting. Like here, it starts counting maybe around about this point or that point. This is just a very exaggerated representation to remind you that there's something called transition period in when we switch on and off the arc. So you can review that section. So it says, for example, here it detects the arc, and then here, once the exponential decay has reached this level, is only able to detect the arc is switched off here. Say for example, it counts 900 milliseconds, no sorry, 300 milliseconds. For example, it counts 300 milliseconds. It says, okay, I counted 300 milliseconds, but I need to reach 900 milliseconds. There's still 600 milliseconds missing. So I'm going to keep the tip of the device on. So after a while, maybe 400, 300 milliseconds, I managed to cause another arc, and then the device counts, like in this fashion, 200 milliseconds. It says, oh, I've got 300 plus 200. How much is it? 500. Well, I haven't reached the 900 milliseconds. I have to still wait, and I still have to keep the device on, the tip of the device on. So it keeps it on. Then after, say, whatever, say 200, 300 milliseconds here, which there's no arcing, it detects another arc because another arc is generated of 200 milliseconds, for example. It says, oh well, I've had 200, 200, 200, 700 milliseconds in total. Oh well, I haven't reached the 900 milliseconds target, so I have to keep the tip of the device on. So it keeps it on, and then, for example, is another arc lasting exactly 200 milliseconds, and when it hits a maximum of 900 milliseconds, bang, the tip is off. See see for example here, the main difference here is we've got 900 milliseconds here, and here the tip is on. The tip is on here for a maximum of 900 milliseconds, pardon me, 900 milliseconds, and here can be on for 3 seconds, 4 seconds, because the device is saying, okay, I'm counting an arc. Is it enough? No, it's not enough. It keeps the tip on. Is it enough? No. So it keeps counting the duration up until to the maximum duration that you tell it to be. So the tip of the device can be on for, in theory, an indefinite amount of time up until the device detects an overall duration of 900 milliseconds, like in this example, but you can actually tell it to whatever duration you want. So that's very important. So in this example, just to make it clear, here the tip is on for a long time compared to this. Here you say, oh, dear tip, be on for 900 milliseconds. And here, the duration of the time that the tip is on for is indefinite, because it's actually, the device is telling it to switch off that tip when the total duration of the arc reaches 900 milliseconds. So hopefully this has been quite instructional video, and this video has been designed so you understand the difference, number one, between the whole counter and the start counter. That's very important because there's a slight difference there, and we want this difference to be extremely clear. Also to remind you, there's something called transition period of the arc, and also about cold plasma, because in this following part of this video you're going to actually watch us playing around with these two functions using cold plasma. So enjoy the next part of the video. In this part of the video we're going to show you the difference between the whole counter and the start counter, and we're going to show you the difference especially using the cold plasma, because we've got this prototype in design phase set up for it, so you can actually appreciate the difference, which is quite straightforward with this cold plasma. It's going to be quite an interesting exercise to do. So let's get into that right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go into the start mode first. So I've got to set it up so that the voltage is what do you call it? The whole time, sorry, the start time is 1000 milliseconds. So basically it's gonna keep the arc on for 1000 milliseconds. So because we actually talked about 900 milliseconds in the video, we're gonna do 900 just to make it the exact match. So what was happening now, the device is being set up. I'll show you the way we actually set it up. So just see whether I can change that. So then I press start. So when I press start, I have to actually hold the handle, which is here. But this is an advanced thing. So we're going to show you this in other videos anyway. So let's forget this for now. But so we're going to go and press start. So the device is going to set up. And it should be working. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you my beautiful model, the usual chicken, which has been dead for a while. It's been frozen for a while. So let's have a look at it. Ese es el corta esta parte, donde estoy haciendo el foco, donde estoy enfocándolo. Corta eso también. A verlo si funciona. Okay. Perfecto, se ve. So now I've got my model here. I've got the device there. The device, have a look, it should be set up. Let me try it. I'm gonna open the. Now basically what I'm doing, I've actually managed to set it up. Now at the moment I've got the argon gas off. So and the device is actually, what I told the device is, look, keep the tape on for 900 milliseconds is in start mode, in the start function. So for 900 milliseconds, and then wait, once you switch off the tip, wait for 6 seconds before you switch it back on again. That's what I'm telling it. That's the voltage step. We're gonna be subject to other videos. So, and I've chosen this just to be the same as in the videos as we talked about. So what I'm going to do here, just to show you the argon gas and how it works in cold plasma, I'm going to switch on the argon flow, which is the argon is flowing through there. through the tip and it goes out. So all I'm doing is switching on the argon, and then we've got the flame. Wait 6 seconds. I've got the flame. Again. So now it's off. After 6 seconds, it's going to be again. Look. And it's off. And it's off. So what has happened there is actually been on for a while longer, simply because it hadn't detected the arc being on, simply because of the setting of the device. That's something that we're going to sort out later on, but that gives you the idea. So I'm going to go into the whole counter mode. I'm going to set it to 900 milliseconds. So as I showed you in the video, 900, enter. And the device has been set up. So now the noise that you're hearing is that the device thinks that there's been an arc being produced. So I'm gonna start the setup process again. A tiny bit, then it's still on. Then a tiny bit, it's still on. Then another tiny bit, and it's still on. Tiny bit, and it's still on. So it's set up almost properly, but there's some settings that we've got to change about this device in order to detect the arc properly. But look at this. So basically, the wait time is 4 seconds, and the whole time is 900 milliseconds. So I'm going to show you 3 bursts, actually some bursts, to see how many we can actually produce. And at the moment, actually, if you look at the tip of the device here, it's actually arcing. The tip is arcing. It's beautiful. It's arcing towards here. It's arcing towards my finger as well. And it's not, because it's not set up 100%. Even if there's an arc, it's not detecting it properly. So I'm getting an arc, but it's not detecting it. But look at when the arc is high enough, it's going to detect it, and it switches off. I'm going to do it again, and it's off. I'm going to do it again, and it's off. Because it's actually counting the overall 900 milliseconds time. So when you hear it beeping, it's actually detecting the arc. So I'm going to do it again. Detects the arc. It's off. Now it's on. And it's off. Do it again. 1. Okay, it hasn't detected it because you haven't heard the beeping. It's detecting it. So maybe the first 2 arcs were in the region of 400 milliseconds, the last one for 100 milliseconds approximately. Just do it again. Okay, now I'm going to switch off this the argon flux and see whether I can actually get the arc here if I get it butted up onto the chicken. Really, that's how I can get it. But basically in there's still a bit of argon in there, so the arcing takes place quite easily. So I'm going to do it again without argon now, see whether it does. And that stopped. We'll do it again. And it stops. So I managed to do it 3 times within a whole time of 900 milliseconds. I'm going to do it the last time. That's it. So this is all for this video. This video has been designed for you to understand the difference between the whole counter and the start counter, and also to have a revision of what cold plasma is and what it looks like. So if you have any questions, please let us know.